This was a current, passionate, obsessive movie that comes right from where I am now.
It's the lure of wanting to not be in reality, I think, that everybody can relate to.
Just like me.
It's where your mind is at in the moment is your reality. There are not any strict rules.
I often think if you're in a David Cronenberg movie as a game, as if you have a chance to enter as a player in Naked Lunch or in Crash, heaven forbid.
You haven't ever quite seen a film like this one because it hasn't been made.
I did an interview with the writer Salman Rushdie in London for a Canadian magazine called Shift. I had the inkling before I did the interview, that I might want to do a movie that reflected in some way his situation. That is to say, a writer who had written something that he felt was relatively innocent and suddenly found himself condemned to death in this case by a militant Islamic group for what he had written. We talked about many things, including a discussion about whether games could be art. Could a game designer be an artist? And this really started me thinking about making a game designer the central role in a movie that would be about a kind of Rushdie-like situation.
eXistenZ. It's new, it's from Antenna Research, and it's...
Whilst playing and getting to play this game, my character and Jennifer's character, Allegra Geller, are also under fire from an underground movement who are trying to get rid of this game because they believe it infringes on reality too severely.
One of the excitements, of course, about getting into the game in the movie is to find yourself questioning what reality is. To what extent do we create our own reality? To what extent are we all characters in our own game? And you know, as you get older, you begin to realize it becomes a very strongly evident and palpable thing that people define their own characters almost as though they've written them. You decide what things appeal to you about how you project yourself in society and so on. And we all do play certain roles.
Allegra Geller, you changed my life.
I see the very sexy, the very intellectual, challenging part of it. It's a way to deal with different levels of reality, different levels of information.
Actually, it seduces you, it pulls you deeper and deeper into this game. At first you just think, oh, I'm just watching this movie, they're just these characters, I understand what's going on. And then finally you realize, my goodness, where am I? That's what we're realizing as actors, I think, too. Whew, how did I get here?
I'm feeling a little disconnected from my real life. Kind of losing touch with the texture of it, you know what I mean? I mean, I actually think there's an element of psychosis involved here.
Yes. This is a great sign. It means your nervous system is fully engaging with the game architecture.
It just occurred to me that what people are really doing in computer games and video games is trying to get closer and closer to fusing themselves with the game. And so I thought I would just make that little leap myself, and we have the idea that a game would in fact plug right into your nervous system made perfect sense to me. It's all really an attempt to fuse with the fantasy and make it real and make it physical and make it organic.
I'm kind of a computer geek myself, so I understand the draw to it. I loved it on a bunch of levels, and also just the level of what do these kinds of games do to one's psyche? Just like what does TV do to one's psyche, or when you're just being sort of drowned by media and so much coming at you, and where you're living a fantasy, but it feels very, very real, what does that do to you?
I don't think you have to be a game player to understand the film or to get into it. If you are a game player, then the certain subtleties will make you smile because there's a certain awareness of game playing, and a couple of people have said it exactly replicates how it feels to play a role-playing game, and it's quite spooky that way. But if you've never played a role-playing game, I don't think it's necessary. I mean, just the role-playing that goes on in everyday life is experiencing enough to relate to the metaphorical use of gaming in the movie.